A listener challenge. Is the all 49ers team by itself better than an all non-49ers all-time NFL squad? We will tell you that answer, and it might be those San Francisco 49ers because, it is the franchise in the NFL. If you're listening to this podcast, coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We appreciate all of our everydayers so much, and we love it when you hit that subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. And hit us with more topics and questions throughout the summer here as we get ready for training camp 2024. Hit us on Twitter at BD Peacock at Crocky209 or drop a comment on YouTube if that's where you partake of this podcast. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Gametime. Download a Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. All right, we're going to go to Twitter, and this is from Greg at Greg_SBK, and he says this: I get any player that has ever played even one game for the 49ers. You get every player that has never played even one game for the 49ers. My team beats your team. That is the challenge from Greg. He's saying his all 49ers team, and he's got first team and second team here, and I'll put it up on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube. His all-time 49ers team is better than any all non-49ers NFL team that we can put together, Croc. That is the challenge thrown down by Greg. And I know we've done our all-time drafts, and the 49ers are a historic franchise, Hall of Famers everywhere. Greg might be right. He might be able to do this. And it seems crazy to think that one franchise could do that and pull that off against an all-NFL team. And we'll see if he's right about that, Croc. Before we get into this, and we're going to pick our all-time NFL squad to go against Greg's all-Niners team, do you think he's onto something here?
I definitely do. If in these rules you get them in whatever their prime is, as opposed to when they play for the 49ers.
Ooh, interesting. That has not been stipulated by Greg, but we'll go through this. And I think
the way he listed it,
I think you have to get their 49er prime, right?
The way he listed it, it looks like he's taking the players in their prime, even if it wasn't with the 49ers, but just as a name that played for the Niners.
And you're saying because Randy Moss is on this list?
Because Randy Moss and Rod Woodson. And Rod Woodson was decent, but he wasn't Rod Woodson.
He was post. When did he tear his ACL? He was post ACL.
He tore his ACL before that.
Yeah, so he was post ACL pre-safety Rod Woodson is what the 49ers version was. And I'll bring it up on the screen right now for those of you on YouTube, and it's covering Croc's face, so I apologize that. That's a great question because Randy Moss and Isaac Bruce, who are on this list, if you get them in their prime, that's fantastic. If you get the 49ers version of either one of those players, it's not as good. It's not nearly as good, right? That's pretty obvious. Let's start with quarterback. Quarterback for the first team. And first of all, and you're right, because he has Randy Moss as first team and Terrell Owens as second team. I would think that you would have to get their peak as a 49er on this. So that would be Owens should be the first team and Randy Moss should probably not be on the list or be second team at most.
I'd take Anquan Bolden 49ers over Randy Moss 49er.
I would too. Yeah, I would take Debo and Ayuk over 49ers version of Randy Moss. I'd probably take a lot of other guys too if we got a little bit deeper into this. But how he's got this listed out, he's
an Arnaz battle. No, I'm joking. I don't know if I do
that. Yeah, I was disappointed. I you know what frustrated me about 49ers version of Randy Moss, because he was still good. I didn't like him ducking out of the way of contact in the Super Bowl. Catch a freaking slant and get hit, dude. Win a championship. I didn't like that. That rubbed me the wrong way. It's like you can't just walk in and say, I'm only just going to catch go balls. I'm not going to. I'm going to curl up if I might get hit over the middle of the field. Come on, San Francisco 49ers wide receivers go over the middle, Croc. It's what they do. It's what Jerry did. It's what T.O. did. It's what Ayuk and Debo do.
Yeah.
So, looking at this, I think you're right. So we're going to say that you get, no matter you get the player in their prime. That's what he's trying to say. And you're going to need that if your all 49ers team is going to beat an all NFL team anyway. But you know what it does is it takes Randy Moss away from the all NFL team. So the 49ers have the best wide receiver group because you have the 2 best wide receivers ever, 3 best, right? If the 49ers team has Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens, and Randy Moss, that's going to be better than any other 3 wide receivers we come up with for the all NFL team because we don't get those guys.
Correct. I think on most 98% of people's top 5, top 10 receiver list, it is some order of Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens. At least anybody that's thinking logically.
Yep, absolutely. Joe Montana, first team quarterback, second team Steve Young. First team wide receivers, Jerry Rice and Randy Moss. Second team, Terrell Owens and Isaac Bruce. First team tight end, George Kittle. Second team tight end, Vernon Davis. First team running backs, Christian McCaffrey and Frank Gore. He's going dual running backs here. That's okay. We can do that on ours. Roger Craig and Ricky Waters, second team running backs. Phenomenal so far. This is a very good football team put together by Greg of all-time 49ers. Left tackle, Trent Williams, first team. Second team, Joe Staley. Left guard, Larry Allen. Second team, Guy McIntyre. Center, Randy Cross and Jeremy Newberry. Right guard, Jesse Sapolu and Kevin Gogan. Right tackle, Harris Barton and Steve Wallace. Going on to the defensive side of the ball. First team defensive ends, Richard Dent and Charles Haley. Second team defensive ends, you've got Nick Bosa and Chris Dolman. And again, like Dent, Chris Dolman, those are guys where you're getting there in their prime. That's better than what they were in their 49ers days. Defensive tackles, you got first teamers, Bryant Young and Justin Smith. Second teamers, Leo Namalini and Michael Carter. Linebackers, Fred Warner, Patrick Willis, Kevin Green. Second teamers, Ricky Jackson, Navarro Bowman, and Ken Norton Jr. At cornerbacks, you got Deion Sanders and Rod Woodson on the outside. And you've got Eric Wright and Richard Sherman as the second team cornerbacks. At safety, you've got Ronnie Lott and Dwight Hicks at strong safety and free safety with Dante Whitner and Merton Hanks on second team. That is according to listener Greg. That's a solid squad. That is an all-time squad. And whatever team we put together, Croc, is going to be, it's going to be tough to beat that team. I think it might be doable because there's still some Hall of Fame spots. We're going to have Hall of Famers in every spot. There's some non-Hall of Famers on that list, even as amazing as that all-time 49ers squad is.
Yeah. I think I can put a team together to beat that team, but it would be very hard, especially considering how much winning a lot of those players did. When you think of Joe Montana, you know, it just doesn't get much better from just being able to win the big game, and he did it with a lot of guys on that list. So, yeah, that's definitely a very difficult team to beat.
Shout out to Kevin Hart during the Tom Brady roast when he said, "Oh, the greatest quarterback of all time is going to be here. I didn't see Joe Montana anywhere. Where is he?" It's fantastic stuff there. Okay, Croc, now it's our turn. Let's put together our all-time NFL non-49ers team. None of these players could have played for the 49ers to be eligible for this team, and we'll see if the non-49ers all-timers is better than the 49ers all-timers next. This episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. It's the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. We're talking superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your vehicle, car, or truck, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car into the MVP. Bring home that W. Keep your ride or die alive. At ebaymotors.com, eligible items only, exclusions apply, eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. Tom Brady is our all-time quarterback first team, Croc?
I think I was going to say, I think it's pretty easy to go there, but between Peyton Manning and now Patrick Mahomes, I think they'd have a lot to say about that. Brady clearly the most accomplished.
Okay, so let's do second team as well, since Greg threw his out there. Peyton Manning, you got John Elway. We could go back to Slinging Sammy Ball, the Otto Grahams of the world. Dan Marino, no title, but a phenomenal quarterback in his day. Johnny Unitas, Patrick Mahomes. Who's the second team quarterback? Is it still Manning? We still going to lean like Mahomes is
the Sheriff was so good regular season, like clearly the greatest regular season quarterback ever, right? And there's some other quarterbacks that were great that just didn't win, like Dan Marino. He was amazing, but Mahomes is a tough one for a guy to start his career like since he started. And again, we're in the middle of it, so it's hard to compare him to guys like Peyton Manning with the great career he had and some of the other guys you named. But in what he's been in the league 6 years, and he's been to either the conference championship or the Super Bowl, and every year he started. Like that is, he's won 3 Super Bowls, been to another one where he lost, and then 2 conference. So I guess he's been in the league 7 seasons, 6 in which he's been the starter. Yeah. And 4, he's been to the Super Bowl. 3 of them he won, and the other 2 he lost in the conference championship game, and was probably a deep forward offsides away from being in another Super Bowl. I mean, that is just it. I don't think it gets much better than that.
In fact, the only guy that started his career better than Patrick Mahomes is Brock Purdy. So maybe we should put Brock Purdy in here.
Now, I don't even think you can say Brock, because Brock, you lost it. You lost in the conference championship. He got hurt, not his fault.
Brock's only been to NFC championship games and Super Bowls.
Yeah, but also
his winning percentage is better in his first 2 years than Patrick Mahomes. Better completion percentage.
I think with Mahomes, remember he was also NFL MVP that second year, threw like 50 touchdowns. So I think that kind of is the one that kind of shifts things just a little bit in favor of him. But Brock, and then he won the Super Bowl. But Brock is right there.
All right. At Crocky209, Eric Crocker, noted Brock Purdy hater. So it's Manning or Mahomes here. I think we got to wait on Mahomes. Do we have to wait on Mahomes?
When I watch Mahomes most of the time, it feels like he's the greatest quarterback I've ever watched. Like that's what it just looks like I'm watching. And even when you watch him we watched him in 2 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowls that he's won now, where it doesn't even look like he's playing his best football, and somehow he still figures out a way to win. And then when you have this team that he had last year, where it's like, down year, everybody, you guys are good. It's a down year for the Chiefs. It's like he still figured out a way to win. So I don't know how it gets much better than that. A guy that
Peyton Manning would have won Super Bowls with that defense, and Andy Reid is his head coach.
Well, I guess we saw Peyton Manning win a Super Bowl when he couldn't throw a 10-yard out. So I guess anything is possible.
I'm going to put Mahomes down. Everyone's talking about how he's the greatest of all time. Let's just let him finish his career, and then we'll rank him. That's the way I feel about that. But I'm not going to fight if you think.
I think the Sheriff is more liked than there's something about Mahomes I think people don't care for. And I never really got that sense from like Peyton Manning. So like I think a lot of I would assume the comments, and if you go to social media, I think he has a lot more, Peyton Manning has a lot more fans or people rooting for him outside of like the Indianapolis Colts or the Denver Broncos than Mahomes has room for him outside of Kansas City.
Manning, better voice, better wife. I don't even know who Peyton Manning's wife is. Is Peyton Manning married? I don't know if I've ever seen Peyton Manning's wife. And I see way too much of Patrick Mahomes' wife.
Better nephew, right? I don't even know if Mahomes has
brother. Better little brother for sure. Yeah.
Better little brother for sure.
All right.
I think I might lean towards Mahomes' dad. There's something about him, like this authenticity with him. I kind of like. He feels like a normal person, but he did play like in the major leagues.
Yeah, former Visalia Oak. I saw him pitch when he was a single A ball player when I was a kid. Running back, Jim Brown, Barry Sanders. You fight me on that? And if we're going second team, Walter Payton.
So you said Jim Brown.
I'd go if we're doing two running backs, and Jim Brown would be a hell of a fullback too in this offense if you're putting them all on the field at the same time, because he had two running backs. So I'm going to list Jim Brown, Barry Sanders.
Ooh,
really good 1-2 punch, and then we can do two second teamers as well.
Why do people and again, and I'm not mad at this at all, but Emmitt Smith is the all-time leading rusher.
Overrated.
Okay, I got you. I mean, it felt like that, but I had to kind of just acknowledge him.
He's really good, balance, vision. But his offensive line was great. I don't know. I just feel like he had the most yards, but there's something missing. So I'm going to watch Jim Brown. I'm going to watch Walter Payton. I'm going to watch Barry Sanders. I'm going to watch Christian McCaffrey. I mean, there's like
you want to watch Adrian Peterson?
I'd rather watch than Emmitt Smith.
And Adrian Peterson is one where I would take him over a lot of guys. You just don't get that power, that speed. Even though I play with I coach with Desmond Bishop. Desmond Bishop was on the Vikings with him, and his thoughts are a little different just when you hear how he talks. But again, some of these defensive guys, they're wound up a little different.
Oh yeah, they can't.
But Dez is like, I ain't scared of AP. Just run through his chest. Like he really don't want that contact like that.
Oh wow,
but that's how he talks about Peterson. Oh yeah, I ain't even worried about him. I'm gonna knock him. Like that's how he talks about it.
Adrian Peterson's a freak. He could have played NFL football out of high school. One of the few guys that could have done that.
I wish our fans could just be around more NFL players and listen to how they talk about the other players, like the other guys in the league, guys that we like. Oh man, this guy is so great, and Adrian Peterson was great. I think he's one of the greatest running backs I've watched in my time. But when you hear other guys talk about him, or Dez, it's just really. And then you kind of, if you go back and watch it, you see some physical runs. But he said he does that to people that are scared of him.
Who's our fourth running back? Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, and Emmett, O.J. Simpson.
You gotta get
Eric Dickerson, Earl Campbell.
Ooh, Earl. Ooh, Eric. I think by default, because of what he did throughout his career, you got to go Emmett.
All right.
And Emmett had some. I mean, we talk about him like, there is something missing, and I get it. You just watch him, and it's not like flashy, but it's just like, let me hit this hole, let me run hard, let me do my job. Oh man, I know with 1,600 yards this season.
All right, we'll put Emmett on there.
Yeah,
as our fourth running back. Wide receiver. We don't get the best wide receivers of all time either. So we're talking probably. I'll throw out some names here because we don't get Moss. He's on Team 49er. That's probably the biggest reason to have Moss on there because it keeps him away from our team. Even if you use second team on your all 49ers team.
Let's go with some guys that people might not be thinking, right? Like throw out those. Sterling Sharp.
Sterling Sharp, short career, phenomenal. Wow.
I mean, that's one of the few guys that could really rival what Jerry Rice was doing. Like this was a guy that was clearly ahead of his time before his injury.
Sterling, I didn't expect Sterling Sharp. I didn't think of that name, but I like him being on there. Larry Fitzgerald, first teamer.
I think you got Larry. I think you got Julio. I think you got Calvin Johnson. There's some names there.
Oh, Calvin Johnson. I like that a lot. So Fitzgerald and Calvin. And then you got Julio.
And you might go Julio, Antonio Brown. Like now, again, there's some people that are listening that might go like 70s, 80s receivers. I'm sorry, I can't go back that far. But what Antonio Brown did, it just ended so abruptly. But he was on a historic pick. Like he was the best receiver between him, Julio, and they were two great receivers. Antonio Brown, I think that late career stuff is going to overshadow just how great of a receiver he was. For a guy 5'10" to win the way that he did at every level in every way. I mean, and then on top of that, the numbers, the production that he put up, you don't see that. You don't see the production he put up. You
I
don't
think
see
the
that.
level of skill is pretty crazy, and it would be hard to put some of the Lance Allworths or Don Hudson's on the list, partially because I didn't see him play. Steve Largent, maybe, at least saw the end of his career. I kind of don't really remember what he looked like when he played. I would skew to the newer players at wide receiver and how skilled those guys are and how freaky some of those guys are. Calvin Johnson, give me a break. So AB with Julio, Fitz, and Calvin Johnson, very new school all-time wide receiver group with no Moss, no Jerry Rice, no T.O. I like it.
Didn't even mention Chris Carter, who also Hall of Fame receiver, played with Randy Moss, of course. Really great second act, leaving Philadelphia, had his issues there, went to Minnesota, and, again, ended up having a Hall of Fame career.
Tight end.
Gronkowski, Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez.
I kind of want to put Tony G first team, Gronk second team.
All right.
Yeah? All right.
I'm down with that.
All right. Tony Gonzalez, first team tight end.
Kellen Winslow Sr., not too bad.
Kellen Winslow. Oh, absolutely deserves consideration there. You put him in over Gronk? Tony Gonzalez?
I feel like we're supposed to, but we could go with
I probably don't put him in there, but we had to bring him up. So I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did. All right, we'll finish the offensive line and the defensive side of the ball. All-time team. See if it matches up with the 49ers all-timers. Next. This episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Summertime means baseball. NBA finals are now over. NBA draft, though, is coming, and you can find that action on FanDuel, and you can bet it all every day at FanDuel. And right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet everything from baseball to football futures. And there is daily boosts, daily bonuses for all users, not just new users and new customers at FanDuel.com/lockedon this summer. So again, go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and get involved in all of that action. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, we got first teamers: Tom Brady, Jim Brown, and Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, Tony Gonzalez. Let's put together our offensive line here. And it gets, this is where I think the all-time team starts to take a little bit of a lead. The Niners, quarterback, wide receiver, running back, you're in good shape there. But offensive line, we get to put Hall of Famers in all 5 spots here. And it starts with offensive tackle. The newer generation of guys that we've seen play, Jonathan Ogden and Walter Jones, among the best ever.
I was thinking Jonathan Ogden and like Tony Baselli.
Anthony Munoz, I think absolutely deserves consideration. Those would probably be the names I'd throw out there at offensive tackle.
Yeah.
Hurts the squad not to get Larry Allen, though, on this one. So that's definitely advantage. 49ers all-timers. Ogden, Munoz, Walter Jones, Baselli. We need 2 of those 4. All 4 can make it, but which 2 are the first teamers? Munoz, Ogden?
Ogden for sure.
Okay. I'm gonna put Munoz. We gotta give some credit to past generations of guys. So Munoz, Ogden, and we're gonna go Baselli and Walter Jones.
Yeah, sounds good.
At tackle. And now we go on to guard. We don't get Larry Allen. We might have to go deep into the past with names like John Hanna, Gene Upshaw, the Oakland Raiders, Bruce Matthews, who played for 20 stinking years in the offensive line in the NFL, which is kind of crazy. I'm looking at the NFL 100th anniversary team right now. Got names like Randall McDaniel on there. Jim Parker, never heard of him. Baltimore Colts from 1957 to 1967. He can't be on my list because I don't know enough
Just
about him.
didn't get a chance to watch him.
Yeah.
Couldn't even tell you what he looked like.
But all those names like John Hanna, Gene Upshaw, Bruce Matthews, those are names where like these are the all-time guys when you're growing up.
Definitely got to go with Bruce.
Hearing about those guys.
Got to go with Bruce for sure. Got to go with Gene.
Gene and Bruce. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are the guards. Gene Upshaw, Bruce Matthews. Center, last position, Jim Otto, Mike Webster. Those are my recommendations. Jim Otto, another Raiders offensive lineman. Mike Webster was like the guy for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Now, I don't know a whole lot about just all-time greats at center, and I don't know if it's because this just happened, but people are saying Kelsey might be the greatest center of all time.
He's certainly on the list. If you do the 200th anniversary team, the 150th anniversary team, right? 110th anniversary. When was the 100th anniversary? It wasn't that long ago. Yeah, Kelsey. I'm putting Kelsey's second team.
All right.
How about that? And you go Jim Otto or Mike Webster is the question. I'm going to go Webster. Yeah, let's go Webster. All right, there we go. That's the offense. Offense is done. We need defensive players now. We don't get Charles Haley. We don't get Nick Bosa. But you know what we get? We get guys like Reggie White, who's absolutely going to be on this team. Bruce Smith. You got the all-time record or the season record holder, Michael Strahan, if you want to put him on the list. I mean, you could go a number of different directions with defensive ends.
We didn't even go interior. Oh man, and then what about like JJ Watt? I mean, 3-time in a like. So I mean, he was the player of the year like 3 straight times or whatever it was.
We got to figure out which position they play if we're playing like, because Greg put who did Greg have on his roster? And so we'll use his, put it back up on the screen for those who forgot, because I just forgot, who are watching on YouTube. Charles Haley, he's kind of an outside linebacker, stand-up rusher. So if you have Lawrence Taylor, he would play that same sort of a role. Lawrence Taylor would be a defensive end, really, for this, if we were doing a modern team, or we could do kind of an odd front, and then you have like, JJ Watt and as an end, then you have Lawrence Taylor as an outside linebacker. So,
but he also has Kevin Green as an outside linebacker, and he was a pass rusher.
Oh, right. Yeah. Nope. True. Good point. Very good point. So let's go. All right, let's go LT as a linebacker then.
Yeah.
Let's go at
Luke Kuechly at linebacker.
Gotta have Reggie White. I like Kuechly at linebacker. I mean, there's so many linebackers. It was a golden era of linebackers back in the day. I'm gonna go Watt at tackle. So I think it's easier to come up with. So I'm gonna go. How about this? Tell me if you're okay with this. We'll just do first teamers here. Reggie White and Bruce Smith at end. You got JJ Watt at defensive tackle with like
Aaron Donald.
Green. Oh, Aaron Donald. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Now I'm rethinking this. We got Watt and Donald of the more recent variety. We've got Mean Joe Green. We've got John Randall. We've got oh man, there's so many options on the defensive line.
Yeah.
We skew. Let's Aaron Donald tackle with Watt.
Aaron Donald is arguably the best defensive player I've ever seen.
Aaron Donald, by the way, I think is our lightest defensive lineman too. I think he's smaller than Reggie White and Bruce Smith. Maybe not Bruce Smith. Definitely lighter than JJ Watt. LT, Kuechly, and we'll finish up our linebacker group with Jack Ham. We go old school. Chuck Bednarik. Go Derek Brooks. Go like Nitschke. Some of the toothless no face mask wearing guys from the 50s.
Let's go Brooks.
Derek Brooks.
Yeah.
All right. Get some speed out there. All right. LT, Kuechly, and Derek Brooks at linebacker. Now we've got DBs, Croc, and this is your specialty, but you don't get your boy Deion Sanders. So who do we have?
Not mad at that, because I do think that Prime is an all-time 49er great. So I'm okay with that.
That's true. That's right. You're on that hill, and he maybe did have his best season as a San Francisco 49er too.
There's no maybe about it. He definitely did. Defensive MVP. He was just awesome there.
Darrell Green.
You got to throw Dale Green in there. He is an all-time great. You got to see, now I can't go back too far, because there are some greats that it's just like, gosh, I wish I could put them on here. So I'm sorry, guys. These guys will be more recent, but I'm just going to rattle off names, and I think these guys should at least be the starting secondary. Okay. You got Dale Green. You got Charles Woodson, Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed. That's kind of got to be my.
Oh, I'm not going to fight you on that. Ronnie Lott's already on team 49ers. Yeah. Ed Reed, Polamalu, Woodson. Okay, that's our secondary. Darrell Green, Charles Woodson, Rod Woodson's already on the Niners.
Yeah.
Then you get Ed Reed and Polamalu at safety.
Yeah.
All right, there it is. The Peacock all non-49ers first team. Tom Brady, Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, Larry Fitzgerald, Calvin Johnson, Tony Gonzalez, John Ogden, Gene Upshaw, Mike Webster, Bruce Matthews, Anthony Munoz, Reggie White, Bruce Smith, J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, Lawrence Taylor. We got Luke Kuechly, Derek Brooks, Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, Darrell Green, and Charles Woodson.
That'd be a tough team to beat.
As good as the all-time 49ers team is, with Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Frank Gore, Trent Williams, Larry Allen, Randy Cross, Jesse Sapolo, Harris Barton, Richard Dent, Bryant Young, Charles Haley, Justin Smith, Fred Warner, Patrick Willis, Kevin Green, Deion Sanders, Ronnie Lott, Dwight Hicks, Rod Woodson. I mean, it's kind of like a couple of offensive linemen and maybe a couple of defensive players is really the big difference here. But the all-time team is still better, but man, is it close. And it's pretty unbelievable that the 49ers can be close to as good as an all-time team from every other franchise with players that didn't play on the 49ers. It's phenomenal. Great topic by Greg. Appreciate him throwing that out there. I'm glad we could hammer that out. Croc and I back tomorrow. Will Brandon Ayuk have a new contract when we reconvene? I don't know. We'll find out. I'm sure he'll say something about something, and we'll have to talk about it next time right here. Locked On 49ers.